Today we're going to try something new, and we're going to take a topic that we just came up with at the time of the show, and we're going to discuss it without preparation or any research done ahead of time. The question today that we're going to discuss is, do your thoughts shape your reality? And there's been a lot of topics on this. So you want to go first?
I guess I can. I mean, I thought that I used to think that they would, that they do. Like when you're younger, when I was younger, my experience was that I was a victim to my circumstances. I didn't actually think that I had a whole lot of control over the things that happened to me or the circumstances I was in and, you know, how I responded to them. But then as I got more mature and grew, I started reading different books and listening to different speakers speak on the topic. I realized that I have a lot more control over my life than I thought before. And some say, and I'm not sure if Wayne Dyer said this, I'm sure many people have said this, that your thoughts do create your reality. What you think and what you feel creates how you perceive your world and your reality. Is that true? How do we know that's true? You know, I mean, I think to a certain degree, our thoughts do create our reality. We have an emotion and we have a thought about that emotion, and that creates our perception or reality, which is basically one and the same.
So that's interesting, because what I heard you say is our thought about what is happening kind of creates a reality. And with that, I totally agree. And so I think about it that we're not one with our thoughts. Our thoughts come and go, and our experiences,
right,
that the things that happen outside of us are sometimes they're outside of our control, sometimes they aren't. And how we see ourselves thinking about things, are we the observer of the thoughts that we're having? Or are we so wrapped up in our thoughts that we are convinced of a reality that may not be true? Like, for example, I had some traumatic experiences like you did as a child. And people would talk to me in negative ways. And the reality I developed from growing up with some bullying at school and some bullying at home was that it was all about me. Everybody was out to get me. That's what I would think to myself. So I would go into work situations where people might be saying something critical of my area, of my team, of a decision I made, and thinking that I'm the only one they're talking to this way. So everybody's out to get me. And then when you have the perspective, you're almost self-isolating yourself out among your peers, and it creates a negative feedback loop then where you become isolated. So when you see yourself as isolated, you will be isolated. And that's what I've learned. And I've come to learn that there are things that are normal human behaviors. However, your perception about something gets shaped by something that happened to you when you were younger, and then you start thinking about it in the same way. So you have a thought about something and you say, well, prior experience has told me that this is what this means, so I'm giving it meaning. And I think that's where the root of frustration for a lot of people is. They give situations meaning beyond just the experience, and saying, instead of saying there is someone being critical of me,
right,
they're bullying me, right? There's two different thoughts, but that thought about they are bullying me does create the reality of for that person of being bullied.
What you're experiencing.
Versus saying that person is being critical of me. I don't need to defend myself. I can say thank you for that feedback, or thank you for that information. I'll make a note of that. So then I'm noting, right, what was said and what was done. I'm not reacting to it. So my response could be, I'm going to walk away from this and say, is there value in what that person said? Is it something I need to look at? Or do I just need to let it go? But this is the whole idea for me. Yes, so thoughts do shape your reality, but it's thoughts about how you see what is your
happening.
experience.
Yeah, it's the same thing as saying, it's similar to saying, what this person just said to me, this negative feedback or this bullying behavior, is a reflection of them, not a reflection of me.
Right. But that's how you think about it.
That's
right?
how you think about it. However, when I had a thought I took some notes. When you're young and you have a parent or a guardian speak to you in a negative way and consistently say things like you're stupid or you're worthless or have a lot of negative things about everything that you do, that negative talk becomes your self-talk inside your head. It's how you start to speak to yourself. You idiot. You're so stupid. You're ugly.
The voice,
their
fat. Voice becomes your voice, right?
Yeah, their voice becomes the voice inside of your head, as a child particularly. So now you have this negative self-talk, and it affects how we see ourselves, our self-esteem, our confidence, and the way we perceive how others are treating us. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the critical piece right there, because when we're out in the world as adults and someone says something to us negative, mm-hmm. how we perceive what they're saying, if we take that in as a personal attack, that is going to be because of our past experiences.
Shaping the way we think
the way we think about what they're saying to us. Mm-hmm. You're not going to think that person has a problem.
Right.
That person, something's wrong with them, or this is a reflection of them, not me. Right. So true confidence is thinking, this person can say anything they want about me. It's not going to change my value or who I am or what I know or what I bring to the table. Right.
So being solid in your beliefs.
Yes.
Right. About what you represent, what your values are, and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Something I've heard people say before, and even you, is this idea of setting intention too.
Yeah.
And I get tripped up on that, right? So, like, I think you at one time said, when you get up in the morning, say, today is going to be a good day. But.
Right. Go ahead.
But I can't dictate the external experiences. Mm-mm. I can get up in the morning, and the way I feel about it is I'm going to live this day fully experiencing everything that it has to offer, and I'm going to observe things that people say, and I'm going to observe things that people do, and I'm going to reflect on those things and decide what's important.
But how do you respond to those
because
things?
I don't know.
You can't just observe what people do and say. You most of the time you have to have a response. People are looking for a response, or you're required to have a response.
That's where it starts. It starts being consciously observing what's happening, mm-hmm. right? Because I feel like if I set this narrative, well, today's going to be a good day, and then somebody says something I don't like, I'm like, well, they just shot my goals for the day.
Right, you're setting yourself up for disappointment.
I don't want to create any type of narrative about the way the day should go, because things may not fit with that narrative.
Right, and it could go sideways.
I just want to be open. So that's my intention in the morning, is let me be open to whatever is happening. But that openness, leads me to respond in an appropriate way, right? Because if I come in and say, well, I'm going to have a good day no matter what, and somebody comes in, I could get angry, right? And say, I came to work to have a good day. I need you to shut up, or whatever. You might react from this place.
Well, you can, but there's also another way to think about that. I mean, saying I'm going to have a good day, that's kind of vague. And
what is a good day?
What is
that's
a good
subjective,
day? Right.
But saying I'm going to be open to experience is not really subjective.
So, but you can also, I don't know why I said I'm going to make this a good day. I mean, I think in terms of when I think about making a good day, I think about bringing my best self to the table. I'm going to,
And
no
what
matter
is your best self? That's what I'm getting at. How do you define what is your best self?
well, everybody's individual, how they define.
How do you
so
define
I'm
it?
going to
Yeah.
bring my best self. I'm going to bring my compassionate, my curiosity, my,
that.
my clarity, my calmness, and
That's fantastic.
my confidence to the world today. I'm going to bring my gifts to the world from those like
Yeah.
spaces,
No, I
from
like
a
that.
confident,
I like that.
clear
That's very
space. And that's how I kind of, especially when I go to meet with families, because I never know what I'm going to get.
clear. Right.
And things, there's a lot of emotion around it, and you have to separate yourself from that emotion so you can help them. There has to be space between you and their emotion. You can't absorb it, which is what I used to do. And it's very much a burden when you work with families who have children with disabilities and they are having a really emotionally difficult time. There's a lot of tension, a lot of conflict between, partners, families, husbands and wives, whatever. And you really need to separate yourself. So what I started doing was saying, I'm going to bring my best self to work today from the eyes of calm, confident, clear. I'm going to be curious, compassionate, my best compassionate and curious self.
Yeah, that's an intention statement.
It's very much an intentional, and from my work, I have to be intentional,
right?
Because I am super porous to others' emotions and to the world around me, and because of that, I have to set those intentions. It's almost like I put up like a shield, my 8 C's of shield, my shield.
Yeah, and for the audience, you're quoting from Internal Family
Systems has the 8 C's.
Richard Schwartz.
Dick Schwartz. And I'm not sure if I was able to name all 8, but
I think you got pretty close.
That's
Connectedness, maybe. Right?
Connectedness. Yeah. So, right. So I make sure I'm connected to, the universe and whatever God, whatever you want to call it. I'm connected to the universe in that way.
I would say source.
It's the source of all things, right?
Yep.
You're connected to the source of all things. And then you have the compassionate and the clarity. And so you set it up with intention. And then your thoughts, your thoughts will be behind that shield, so that when you think, you'll think through calm, through clarity, through curiosity. And when you respond, you'll respond in those ways as well. That's the idea.
A lens by which to see
yes,
things.
you're creating a lens, and that's a beautiful lens because it hits them all, and you're able to really support the people that you're working with in that way. I think leaders can do this. You can bring this anywhere,
Leaders,
anywhere,
parents,
anywhere.
partners.
Yeah. So that's what I had started doing. Like, oh my gosh, back in New York before, and I didn't know the 8 C's, but I would not use the 8 C's, but it was always compassion, and it was, connectedness. And I wasn't familiar with it then, but my intention was always to bring that person who could, have clarity and help these families in a way that was clear. And
no, I like that because I think in the past, I used to think that the right approach was to psych myself up for work. I'm going to, I remember one time saying one of my favorite quotes was from this guy that led Goldman Sachs, that you have to get up every morning ready to bite the ass off a bear, which I believe is what he told his investment bankers. But your behavior then driven by that type of thought,
aggressive,
could cause you to be at odds with other people, right?
Well, you're trying to. I mean, that's
like nobody's going to take me down today.
I could see somebody who really struggles with conflict. Like, I don't like conflict, so I could see someone trying to psych themselves up to prepare for any kind of conflict. That I'm going to stand strong and
Yeah, I don't know if that wind up is helpful though.
No, I don't think it is. I think calm, clarity, confidence is better.
Yeah, and.
Because it's more thoughtful.
Is where every time I listen to Jefferson Fisher, I reflect on this more and more. This whole idea of how to respond to people in a way that doesn't escalate the conflict and holds the other person, because we can't hold other people accountable. But when you respond differently, it should influence other people to hold themselves accountable for their behavior and reflect on their own behavior. So if you can come with it, open to the experience, come with calm, clarity, connectedness, And you can say when somebody insults you, did you mean to say that?
Yeah, did you mean to insult me that way? And it also puts it out there and leaves it sitting in. So now there's a mirror.
Right.
Now they're looking at a reflection of their own behavior if you stay in that space. And that's what I love about that. So when you think about, do thoughts create your reality? I would say yes, they do.
Yeah.
The reality that you experience, your perception of your reality, yes.
Right.
Yes, because if you're walking around angry or combative, you're going to experience angry and combative. You're going to bring that to you.
Well, it's going to cause that to arise in other people too, generally.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
Even in this place here, if your thought in this moment when somebody says something that, and maybe they didn't mean to insult you, right? Again, this is our own perspective. But if they did mean to insult you, saying, oh, I'm not going to let them talk to me. I'm going to show them, right? You know, having these types of mindsets versus just being able to respond calmly. Because in a lot of cases, what people are trying to do is push your buttons. And we've talked about this before. The goal is to have no triggers.
Yes.
Right? Because if you have no triggers, then nobody holds any power over you.
Well, here's a great example. I was just thinking what you were saying. I was working with a family, and this woman was getting very upset because she kept saying, you know, her little boy, her son, he's just laughing at me. He just laughs at me.
Right.
When I get angry and I tell him he's laughing at me. And she would yell back at him and I said to her, now she has a child with a disability.
Yeah.
Right? Communication, big communication problems, really difficult speech issues. And so every time mommy got mad, he would laugh. So I said to her once, I said, what do you do when you want your child to laugh and be happy and smile? What do you do? How do you act? Show me your behavior. Make your child laugh right now. So she got in front of him. She started tickling him. She was laughing. She was smiling. She was making funny faces. So I said, now, what do you think your child learned that when you get upset, he wants to make you laugh? What does he do? And she just looked at me. And I said, what do you think he'll do to make you laugh? Because he doesn't want you upset when he sees you get upset. And she said, laugh. And I said, so, do you think your 2-year-old is being diabolical and laughing at you because they want to get you mad? Or they're literally laughing at you because they're 2. Their brain is not developmentally prepared to do that and manipulate you. He's manipulating me. No, he's laughing because he wants you to laugh. And he realizes it's not working, so he doesn't know what else to do. Because he doesn't know what else to do.
Right.
He doesn't want mommy to be upset. He doesn't want mommy to yell at him. So he will laugh to get you to laugh. Thinking his adorable laughing face is going to soften you because it always has before. So that's, to your point, how people respond. And I lost my point. You said something and I said something in response to that for an example.
Well,
what was it?
Just your perspective about whether somebody is...
Yes.
You're trying to apply, again, it's creating a narrative. We talked about this before. Some people will call it creating form around things.
Right. Your perspective about what somebody just said something to you and you assume that they're insulting you or being disrespectful.
Apply meaning to something, right? And then you can identify with the meaning, just like saying, well, I'm sick, right? I'm depressed, right? Versus I'm experiencing feelings of sadness, right? And we can apply meaning to that and link it to depression. And there are people who are genuinely depressed. I'm not saying that depression is all in the mind, but you know, how we see these things, how that parent sees their child, right, shapes how they respond to their child, right?
Yes.
So your thoughts, again, do create your reality.
But approaching things with curiosity is a huge help, because you also have people who are on the autism spectrum, adults, teenagers, and they can seem very rude. They can appear very rude, but they don't realize they're being rude because they miss that social cue. They don't understand that social dynamic of rudeness. They're saying something that sounds really rude, and you're responding in kind, and now you have, you're both getting upset.
Right.
But by being curious and saying, "Did you mean to insult me or try to upset me by saying that?" the person may turn around and say, no, this is what I meant to say. I was just trying to point out this is what I know.
And words matter.
It does.
Because saying to a child, did you know that you hurt me?
Mm-hmm.
Is a different question than did you intend to say something hurtful, right? Because we don't want to create the idea that other people are responsible for our feelings.
Right.
So if you say to your child,
correct, yeah,
did you know you hurt me? That implies that,
they did it intentionally.
Right.
Yeah.
or did you mean to say something hurtful, right? Is a little bit different, right? Because
It
we
is a
don't-
little bit different. It's
how
not
we-
just semantics, no.
Right. And what's your intention, right? Versus your knowledge, right? Because you're not going to have knowledge of my feelings. I can't hold you accountable to know what I'm feeling, right? But I can hold you accountable for your intention rather.
Yeah.
Right? So did you intend to say something insulting?
Well, then you put in the accountability on them. You don't want to you can't hold somebody accountable like
Right.
we said
you
earlier.
want them to hold themselves accountable.
Yeah.
So you're creating awareness of what you're doing. You're
Yes.
not creating accountability. That's on them.
That's
if they're
on
gonna
them.
Do that or not.
Right.
But you're creating awareness, right? And everything's about awareness, right? So awareness of our experience, awareness of our thoughts, right, is what shapes that. So now what you're trying to do here in the response to that child or your teenager who's saying something insulting, or your autistic child, is you're trying to create awareness for them. Right? You're not trying to punish them with words or consequences. You're trying to create awareness.
Yeah. I remember I was in a class, actually I was observing a class, and the teacher, student said something that sounded really, really disrespectful, and this teacher turned around and said, I need you to rethink how you just said that to me. And he did. He stopped, he
Right.
thought, and he changed the way he said it in a more respectful way. Now, this was a 7th grade class,
Yeah.
music class. They were doing the play. This is when Finn was doing the plays. So, and he said something.
What if the kid didn't know how to rethink that? I'm just trying to think of another way to go about that. I might say, did you mean to hurt? Did you mean to say something hurtful?
So
right?
here she was up on stage at a
Yeah.
microphone, and he was sitting,
Yeah.
because we were rehearsing a play. And so she did say that to him, and he changed it. But I think if he wasn't able to do that, this teacher, because I knew her pretty well, would have said, and I've seen her do it before, I'm going to catch you after class. We'll talk about this. And it wasn't, the kid
gotcha.
wasn't scared. He realized
Yeah.
she was truly going to talk to help him, coach him about the way he said something and how it was perceived, and that it came across this way. And this is how you might want to restate something like that in the future.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
I mean, I know a 7th grader is 12 probably, so it's
Yeah,
not
and
quite
so,
the
but
same as
at
an
that
adult I
age,
work
well,
with,
that's
but-
the age
Yeah.
where you learn, you start pushing boundaries, right? And this is where you're going to get the
Yeah.
biggest attitude from kids. A lot of times I tell parents, try to be deaf to the tone and just listen to the message. Because honestly, if you're going to get upset every time your child, your tween or teen shows you attitude, then you're not going to make it through this stage of their lives. Like it's going to be bad. You need to become tone deaf to their attitude. When you ignore the tone and the attitude and pull the message out and respond only to the message, you will change your whole dynamic with that child. That's a thought, changing your reality with your children. That is a very powerful thought that you can have. And just make a choice to not listen to the tone or the attitude, because they're going to say everything with attitude and have a tone about it.
Yeah.
And it's not because they're going to do it every day, all day long.
Right. But again, your thoughts about who they are,
Mm-hmm.
what their experiences are, where they're coming from are going to, again, drive the reality then is how you deal with the situation.
Well, also your past thoughts and how you perceive what they're saying. So if you think it's disrespectful because your father thought it was disrespectful and smacked you across the face for it, then you're gonna be triggered to be harsh with your child,
Right.
and it's not necessary.
So, in conclusion on all this, I think going back to, setting intention for the day, I really loved what you said about the 8 C's and setting intention for the day. And I think that is, for me, that is so much more impactful than getting up and saying, this is going to be a good day.
I'm going to make it a great day.
Or
Yeah.
I hope this isn't a bad day. Because then I think about, what Buddhists would say
Yeah.
is the root cause of suffering. It's either clinging to something or trying to push something away. So I'm either trying to push away, I don't want this to be a bad day, or trying to pull something to myself, which is, I want this to be good today. Those are things that could set you up for suffering versus whatever happens today, I'm approaching it with calm, with clarity, with confidence, with connectedness.
Right.
So I love that
And it gives you an
approach.
internal locus of control.
I think that I am going to print the 8 C's out and put that on a card and put that on my nightstand and probably look at that first thing in the morning.
You may find a poster and put it in your office.
Yeah. Well, no, I will do that because I think for me, that has been super impactful to me. It's like anything, right? If I say, well, I got to go in and talk to my boss today. I hope he doesn't say anything to upset me.
Right. You're manifesting, you're setting yourself up for it because you're going to look for that now.
Right.
Now you're waiting for it to happen, and if he does say something, you're going to perceive it that way. Because
I hope he's not. I hope my wife's not in a bad mood when I get home. Right.
Yeah.
So now you're setting yourself up.
You
for
can't
aversion,
control.
right,
Yeah. You can't control that.
I don't want it to be a bad experience when I get home. Right. Instead of just saying, I'll meet the experience with the 8 C's.
Yeah.
And I'll be equipped to respond to the experience.
Right. Whatever happens, I'm going to meet it with.
It doesn't mean
my
you're a
best
victim.
self,
Going back to your original statement, we don't have to be a victim of circumstances.
Right.
We can respond to circumstances.
Yeah.
And we can have some control over what's happening based on how we respond.
Right. And that's all we have control over is how
response.
we respond.
But that does shape the experience, right?
Yes.
Because everything's about experience. So
your thoughts will create your response.
Right.
Yeah.
And that your thoughts, but being the observer of your thoughts versus just going down the river with those thoughts, right? Like, my boss, he's going to be in a bad mood, right? That I don't have to go with that thought. I can say,
that's a thought.
Right? So,
Yeah.
And this is probably hard for people. We'll probably have to talk more about it because I think people probably are going to get hung up on, no, I have to prepare myself. I have to steel myself for, a bad experience or good. No, you don't. You really don't have to do that.
No.
You can just go with intention and have that same outlook for everything. And then guess what? No matter what happens, if you're going to respond from that same place and not get carried away with your thoughts, you're going to.
In summary,
I'm already seeing I'm finding success from that.
Right. Me too. In summary, your thoughts do create your experience. I believe,
but it's how you think.
Because you can choose how you think about your experiences and how what you bring to that experience, who you bring to your experiences, your best self.
Right.
So yes, your thoughts can create or do create your experience.
Yeah.
It's how you're thinking about your thoughts and how you're thinking about that experience.
And how open you are to it.
Yeah, your perception of your own thoughts is what's going to create that reality.
So if you have rigid thinking, well, this has to be a good day. If this isn't a good day, I'm going to quit. If my boss says one more thing to me, I'm going to quit, right? All those things, that's a rigid thinking versus the mindset that you're talking about.
Cognitive flexibility.
Cognitive flexibility, more of a growth mindset, right? I'm going to...
Well, you need that locus of control.
Yeah.
So that internal locus of control allows you to have that cognitive flexibility to think about any experience that you come into. I'm going to approach this with calm, clarity, confidence, curiosity.
And you will respond appropriately no matter what happens. So that's a great intention. No matter what happens today, I'm going to respond appropriately. And I'm going to...
Well, with the 8 C's.
Right? Lead with
because appropriate is subjective
too.
too.
With the 8, I'm going to respond appropriately with the 8 C's in mind.
Right.
And there isn't any situation I can't handle.
That's a good intention. Right.
There isn't any
that.
situation I can't respond to.
Yeah, or I can't handle in a way that I'm confident about.
And are there tough things that happen? Yeah,
absolutely.
We've had tough things happen.
Absolutely.
But it is all how we respond to it, which is going to shape that reality for us and others.
Correct.
All right. Well, I like how we just kind of came up with something and went with it. This was a great discussion. This is the kind of discussion when I envisioned having this podcast with you a year ago, it was we were just go out in a path and just talk randomly about anything. And I said I would love for people to just be part of that conversation. So this today feels like that. What my vision was for this podcast.
Yeah, we don't need to do research. We know all we need to know.
Unscripted.
Yeah.
But prepared.
Yeah. For life. It's being prepared for life.
We're showing up for life.
We're showing up. Right.
All right. Well, may you show up for life this week, and may you set your intention to be open to your experience with the 8 C's of mind. Have a great week.